Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Way Back When with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy.
Welcome to our Big Blend Radio Third Friday Family History Show. We've landed in our time machine, right, Nancy?
So much fun. It's so fast.
I know, we're airing live online from historic Florence, Colorado. And we're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter travel team on the Love Your Parks tour. And we also publish Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, as well as Parks and Travel magazine. You can see them at bigblendmagazines.com, and we have family history in both of them all the time. And history, a lot of history, natural history, ancient history, you name it, it's all in there. Today's show, it's very exciting. It's all about international family history research. We're going to give you a glimpse into what's happening at the upcoming Letcher Light Shine 2019 International Family History Expo happening August 5th through 10th. And what's so awesome about this is it is all completely online. So it is like 6 days, full days of classes and fun webinars and stories. We've got Holly Hansen, Miss Holly T. Hansen, the Gen teacher, as usual, on our Third Friday Family History Show. And she's the one who's organized this epic event. She did it last year. She's also traveled the country extensively doing these kinds of expos, but now she's reaching a wider audience because everyone's tracing their history, their family history, by doing it online. And you can go and register for the expo. Go to familyhistoryexpos.com. All kinds of resources on the website, books, charts, you name it, even a game, a family history game, which, Nancy, I want to play. Don't you want to play the family history game that
Sure.
Holly's got? I
Talk
know.
about scandal.
I know. So, Miss Holly, how are you?
Hey, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. It's a beautiful day, and this is my favorite show. I love it. Once a month, I look forward to it.
We look forward to it, too, and you always come in saying, I'm happy, and, so today, are you in Salt Lake City today, or are you in Croydon, Utah?
I'm in Croydon today, yeah.
Okay, and so when you do
I was in Salt Lake this morning, but I'm back in Croydon now.
Okay. So you've got two special guests joining you today on the show, and very excited because both of them are presenters, and they know their stuff. They're both presenters at the Family History Expo, the International Family History Expo. And the first one, we've got Melissa Barker. She is the Certified Archives Manager. She is based at the Houston County, Tennessee Archives, and she's the archivist. And you can go to their website, HoustonCountyArchives.yolasite.com. So welcome, Melissa. How are you?
Thank you for having me. We're doing great here. I'm here at the archives. We have researchers here doing family research, and so it's always a great day when we've got researchers.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. So when people come in, they're doing their family history tree, and so you help them pull the right files and connect them with their family roots?
That's exactly what I do. I help researchers, and I also help when people want to donate records that tell about our local history so that we can make those available to genealogists, and they can find those brick walls and tear them down.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Wow.
I like that. And it's interesting because I was looking at Houston County today because, Nancy and I travel full-time, and we're going back east next week, and Holly has sent us on a story mission across the country to get as many stories and find as many destinations like what you are doing in Houston County. And I was looking it up, and I thought, wow, okay, so you're in Tennessee, but it's named after Sam Houston. But it seems like you live in Ireland. You've got the county seat of Erin, and I'm seeing signs with little, 4-leaf clovers, and, what's going on?
Well, we were actually, the railroad was built through here in the 1850s by the Irish. And so the Irish did settle the city of Erin when they saw this area with its hills. They thought it looked like Ireland, so they named the city Erin. So yes, and we have an Irish celebration every single year since 1963. It's the third Saturday in March. Everyone come on down. Our little county of a little over 8,000 people swells to about 20 to 30,000 people on one day.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. We're let's
Sounds
go
like
to
fun,
Ireland,
though.
Nancy. We'll go
I
to the
know.
Tennessee, Ireland. I love this. I love this. Our next guest is Liv Christensen, and Liv is a professional genealogist from Norway. She's connecting in from Norway today. So we've got Utah, Colorado, Tennessee, and Norway. And you can go to her website. It's very extensive. She's got some videos on there, webinars to really get you started on Norwegian family history and researching the genealogy. Go to genealogicalresearchnorway.blog. Welcome, Liv. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and I'm very glad to be together with you.
Oh, we're very excited to have you here. Very excited that you're going to be part of Holly's International Family History Expo. And it's interesting because, we start to connect over here in the States. There's a lot of Scandinavian roots, Norwegian roots. Even Nancy and I have some family roots. Our family was in England. So it seems like, was there a certain period of time of when the Norwegians said, hey, we're going to England, we're going to go to America?
Yeah, most of the immigration was to the U.S., but in periods they had to go through Great Britain to go to the U.S. They went to Hull on the east coast of Great Britain, and then they took the train to Liverpool and took another boat from there. And that's just the route that the person I'm talking about on the expo, she took that route.
Oh, okay. Who are you talking about? Is she a...
This is a person called Ane Sonesson, and she left from Trøndelag area of Norway and went to Wisconsin together with her mother and her sister. And when I'm doing my lecture, I'll read a little bit from the letters she wrote, because just 2 or 3 weeks after she came to the U.S., she wrote to my grandfather's sisters and told them about how great it was in the U.S.
And what
Cool.
time frame
I like
was this?
that.
What year? What year?
She left in 1906.
Okay. And it's very interesting you said Hull, because Nancy, isn't that where our family, our Nana?
That's where, yes, Nana, my grandmother on my mom's side lived in Hull. She was born there.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's
That connection.
our Norwegian connection there. It's very exciting. So you're going to be sharing these stories, and when you think about Norway, what is the first thing, when we hear it in the United States, what would be the first thing we should start to look for when, because you find out, maybe we've got a Norwegian DNA. Everyone's doing those DNA kits and everything. It's like, oh, we're part Norwegian. Now what? I say go to Holly's website, familyhistoryexpo.com. She's probably got a book. But what would be the first step for someone just starting to really trace their family tree, and especially with it being in Norway, Liv?
Yeah, the first thing is to do everything you can to find out about the one who left Norway, to find everything about them in the U.S. And then with that information, you can start doing your research in Norway. And what I would do was to use FamilySearch.org, O-R-G, the website, because it's quite fantastic. It's almost like a textbook about Norwegian genealogy, so you can get all kinds of advice there.
And how hard is it in regards to a language barrier for Americans to be able to communicate with Norway?
It's not difficult, because technology can help you. You can use Google Translate. You can use apps on your iPhone. So it's not difficult to do translations.
And Holly, this goes back to you. When you think about your life of running around and doing these expos in hotels where people had to fly from around the country or around the world to attend, and then you embraced what we have with the internet and technology. Do you find, especially with you doing the international expo, do you find that it's really opening more doors now compared to even 15, 20 years ago?
it's different. It's different how it works. But you have that. Yes, we have. It's a whole new world. It's not the same at all, and we have access to. I mean, to have an event in Salt Lake City and have leave here to do it would have cost a lot of money for her and for us. And
the attendees,
being able to do it this way, she can be right with us and all the attendees, and you don't have all the travel costs. You still have the interaction where you can talk to one another. And if a speaker also has a booth in our vendor hall, after their presentation is over, each person can go there and have live real-time chat through that exhibit hall. It's pretty cool. It's stuff that, it's new technology, and it's exciting to be able to do.
I think this is very exciting. I wanted to go over to you, Melissa, in Houston County, Tennessee. So when a lot of people come through to you, are you helping them? Do you find that you're helping them mostly with Irish, genealogy, with their family ties going back to Ireland?
Yes, we do have some of that, although a lot of the Irish rower workers moved on pretty early. But we also speak that lives here. We have a city here called Tennessee Ridge, and it was founded by Scandinavians.
Oh, wow.
We actually have Scandinavian heritage here in part of our county. So they actually came here in the early, 1904, and they established Tennessee Ridge. They had fruit orchards and canning facilities. They were a huge part of our county and our history. So it's really kind of interesting to have lived here.
Oh, that is really neat. So you guys can connect and share names, right? No. So what are you going to be doing in your presentation at the International Family History Expo?
I am so excited about doing the Family History Expo. This will be my second year, and Holly does a fantastic job. And as a speaker, I'm very, very glad for that. I'll be presenting on the Home Archivist, preserving family records like a pro. If you think about it, Archivist, the work that we do in archives, you can do, and you probably should be doing, the same thing there at home, because you have a lot of those same types of records that we have here in an archive. So I'm going to be teaching about how to organize, how to clean your records, and how to put them in archival materials so that they will last for generations to come.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's important. That's really cool.
Yeah. So are there, when you start putting that together, Holly, is that part of, on your website, Family History Expos, does that help with, when you have all these charts and things that Nancy and I still need to have lessons on that. We need to come to the expo because is that what helps you have these charts? And then you have computer programs that help too, right?
Right. This is really critical. We're talking about some of the old records. Maybe it's your grandparents' or great-grandparents' marriage certificate. It could be land records that have been handed down through the family, old letters. Lee talked about letters that she's going to talk about in her presentation. And these are family heirlooms that are deserving of preservation. And for us to learn, people put them in. I've seen scrapbooks where people put pictures and things in behind magnetic pages that cause damage to the pictures, or they glue them in, or they're different things. And Melissa's going to help us know how to preserve them so that we don't actually cause damage when we're trying to save something long term. There have been a lot of things over the years that have come out that say, do this, do that, and we find out it's not a long-term preservation method. And so this is a real important class that I think everyone will benefit from. Even if you don't do family history, there are things that are important to you that you'd want to preserve for a long time. It's really good.
I noticed that some of the older photographs, especially Polaroid photos, seem to change color, and it doesn't take very long for them to change color.
Absolutely. Yeah, Polaroids can be a problem. That's why we encourage people to get them archived in archival sleeves, put it in archival boxes. But most importantly, with everything that we own, it's important to store them in a cool, dark, and dry place because temperature and humidity fluctuations is what's going to damage everything before anything else. So I will be, teaching people and talking to people about removing things like staples and paper clips, those metal things, because they will rust, and then they will damage your papers. The rust will actually eat away at your paperwork, and so you do not want that. The questions I get the most are, especially if people are not really big in genealogy, but they still have family heirlooms, like Holly was talking about, is the family Bible. Many of us still have our family Bibles, and there is a way that we need to take care of our family Bible so that it doesn't come apart, so it doesn't deteriorate, because I wish I had my ancestors' family Bible, but I don't.
Wasn't that when there was the Bible and then weren't notes kept, like family notes kept in Bibles too?
Yes, absolutely. There are usually pages in the family Bible where family members would keep record births, deaths, marriages, or any other kind of events that happened within the family. And so these are important to not only document, but to preserve, because the handwriting can actually fade if you don't store it properly. And so the family Bible is important, and photographs. Someone's already mentioned photographs. I don't have very many photographs with my family history stuff. I've been doing genealogy for 29 years. There's been several fires within my husband's family and my family. So I don't have a lot of photographs. So I'm always encouraging genealogists to save their photographs and protect them, because, you want to pass them down so that our generations along the way can enjoy them. I wish I had photographs from 100 years ago, but I simply don't.
Wow. And Liv, I wanted to go to you on this. In Norway, that's the same thing, right? But aren't you colder? You don't have to worry about heat as much, right?
No.
For your record.
Yeah, perhaps not, but I just read on Facebook a few days ago that somebody wanted to throw away all old photographs because he didn't know who was in them, and it was so awful to read. I'm very lucky that I have a lot of photographs on both sides, both on my mother's side and my father, and. Doing this article about Arne Sonesson, I also found a few photographs of her in books, because in this municipality they have made at least 3 photo books. They have asked people to contribute, and they had committees that have been sitting together trying to find out who is on this photograph. And in that book, I found a few of this person.
Oh, wow! So when in Norway, I know we've talked, Holly, Glenn over in England, Glenn Burrows in Norfolk, England. He always talks about the importance of going to churches and libraries, but and there's also census. In Norway, is it the same thing for someone trying to trace their family history? Do you go to churches as well?
Of course we do, to see what it looks like. I did 2 heritage travels this year, and we went to a church from the 1780s, and this American lady, she got to see the place where her ancestors had been baptized and confirmed, and it was a great experience for her.
Wow. I think that's the amazing thing about, when we travel around the world and then be able to go to the actual place in a different country, and there's a feeling you can't get past. There's a connection to it. What was it? You covered this, I know, in the 2 YouTube webinars you have up on your website. You were talking about how and why Norwegians, started to come out to America, and was it really is a space issue, right? That there was too many people for Norway, so they needed to start moving out. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's very right. They started leaving Norway around 1825 because of religious reasons. They couldn't practice their own religion or the religion they wanted to be a part of. And later on, it was more of a a space thing and no jobs because the population increased so much in that period because of the vaccine, because of the potato and better conditions.
And so do you look at transportation records too of, there's like the Mayflower, you start looking at, boat records or ship records for families?
Yes. Okay. Yes, there are a lot of different immigration records and passport records and records in the church books which tell when people leave the municipality. And it will be described there that they went to America and perhaps where they went to in the U.S.
Do they change their names? I know with Germany, I know some of our ancestry, they changed their names when they came over. Do you find that in regards to American and Norwegian names when they came over here, the Norwegians?
Sometimes they changed their name, and if you were a cotter or a tenant farmer, you would perhaps take the name of the farm, the big farm, the rich farm in the area, even though they didn't have a direct connection to that.
No.
But there are a lot of Johnson and Andersons still.
Oh, so Johnson and Anderson, those are more of the Norwegian. I always thought that was more English, from England.
No. It's the son at the end is the son of.
Oh, I see. Now, Melissa, in regards to the connections over in Houston County where you are in the Irish, influx, they came over. Wasn't it kind of the same thing when the Irish came over? It was also for, to escape like famine. Didn't Ireland go through like a big potato famine?
Yes, the big potato famine. That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
But
then they came over. So,
like I said, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying that the railroads that came through here, and many of the railroads were built by the Irish, and so that's how this little area was founded. And so when the Irish came through with the railroad and built it through here, we were very lucky that they hung around and they helped to establish our little communities.
And when it comes to railroad and having these transportation records, that's a huge thing. I know, Holly, didn't you write a book on railroad family like researching family history through the railroads?
I did. The Directory of North American Railroads. It's a directory of repositories where records are held, and many of the railroads are defunct, or they're just they're not around. They don't exist anymore. And I did a lot of research to identify what happened to the records of those companies. And so that's what that book was about. And I wrote an article on how to research railroad records. It's a very advanced strategy, and it's hard. It's more difficult because all the railroads are private companies. It's not like a government record. It's like, knocking on somebody's door and asking if you could see their filing cabinet. It's a little more difficult.
One of the really good things about here in Houston County is that we had a gentleman that worked for the L&N Railroad. It's the Louisville and Nashville Railroad that was here. And he donated a lot of documents and records to our local historical society, which when we got in archives, they donated them to us. So we have about 5 boxes full of records about our local L&N Railroad and in the surrounding area. So that's a good treasure for us here.
Yeah,
that's very lucky.
That's true of many of the railroads, but no one knows where they are. I mean, you know about them, and so if we added that into my book, then people who are looking for it, they can look up the name of the railroad and then see. And some railroads, their collections are spread across multiple repositories because railroads they don't just exist in one little county, and they have stations along the rail. And so some of them, like the Union Pacific, they have museums and archives in multiple places across the country. It's interesting.
Wow. Because I think it's interesting because I know we just came back from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and covered a place called Rail Yard Park, and it's the old railroad, and they've kept they've created gardens over where the tracks used to be, and it's crazy. But and here where we are in Florence, there's a big antique shop where the Roundhouse was. So I don't know what happens to the records from that. Maybe the Pioneer Museum here has them, but it's like it's not like they leave a museum wherever they pull out. You know what I mean? At that point,
yeah. For railroads, they buy and sell them. They have these events called Railroadianas and rail passes, little cards that people had. I mean, they buy and they sell and they trade, and the records that people hang on to them. Sometimes they're in a private collection, and then when that person passes away, the family donates them to a museum or a library or an archive. Or I found them in university libraries. I found them in a lot of places, but sometimes they pop up in the strangest, unusual places.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Liv, going back to Norway and tracing your family history, and you try to get as much information as you can, and as you may get the names, but when you start to do, research Norway, of course there's names to look at, but what happens if, you've got, because I see that you work with family heirlooms. Are there things that are specifically Norwegian, maybe antiques that people have and they don't know they're Norwegian, but, they go up in the attic of their house and, maybe it's a type of clock, or is there something in specific that we can recognize over here that would be Norwegian as a family heirloom?
Yes, we have the clothing, the bunad, which is a folk, which is a skirt for women and a top. I can't find the right word for it. And chests, people had they brought all their goods in a chest, which will have the name on it of the person who owned the chest, and perhaps a date. That's a very typical thing. I've seen quite a few pictures of that. That's the two most important heirlooms.
Yeah, because it's interesting because we always talk about photos and maybe books and writing or journals, but sometimes I think things could give you a clue, Do you find that, Melissa, with what you do in archives? Do you have things that are like items?
Yes, we actually do, and in fact, we have people said that I have a mini museum here. Like I said, I've been a genealogist for many years, but I like to see people. I like people to see, touch, and feel artifacts, and so we have a lot of things on display here in the archives. We have railroad memorabilia, we have local business letterhead, and we have items that are artifacts that you can actually pick up and touch. And so we love for that because we have people come in and we want to share that history. And we also do programs with school-age children. And so we try to get the school-age children interested, and when they come to the archives, they get to see all these little neat things that are sitting around, and I get to tell the stories about them.
Nice. That's cool.
Is there a way to collect any kind of DNA from some kind of artifacts? I know my grandmother had what she called a hope chest, and she kept all these things in it. I can't remember. I think somebody did put her name on the inside on the top cover, and with a wood burning tool on that. But I'm just wondering if there's a way to collect DNA from some of these antiques like that.
I'm not a DNA expert, but I know that there are now some technologies and some science that's coming out that they're starting to extract DNA from like hair and things like that, and maybe even getting some of the saliva off of envelopes that people have licked. And so I think it's brand new. But I've been kind of keeping up with it a little bit because I have those kinds of things. I have a lock of hair in my archives, and so I think it's something that we will be able to do on a pretty regular basis. But I think right now it's pretty much in its infancy.
Yes, I remember my grandmother kept a lock of hair from each of her grandchildren, all folded up in a little silk purse thing.
That's interesting. I've got a weird question for you, Liv, because I have to ask this. This is, because our family, since they said that, our family said that that we've got Norwegian ancestry, and they said that, and it happened through the women on my grandmother's side, Nancy's mother's side, and Nana. The women get what's called Viking's disease, and they call it Viking's disease, where it's kind of like your tendons start to shrink on your hands and your feet. And they just said it's from Norway, and I'm like, so, and that was the proof that we've got Viking blood in us. That's what they said. So I'm just asking, do you think that is just, I don't know. It's
true?
Odd, but yeah, is there such a thing?
That was a difficult question. Yes, there can be illnesses that are typical of regions of Norway, so it's not impossible. But what I would do was take a DNA test, and if you take the ancestry, the technology is very good now. They use something called through lines, and then you can see. You can look at the names. If you start to get a feel of what a Norwegian name is like, you can see if you have Norwegian ancestry. I've done the DNA both for me and for a cousin, and she's from the northern part of Norway, and she's got Sami ancestry. And the Samis, they were living both in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And I can see that her ancestry is quite different from mine. She's much more Swedish, much more Finnish than I am.
How interesting.
And I can have that theory because I look at the names, and a Finnish name is very different from a Swedish and a Norwegian name, and the Swedish they also have different both first names and last names than we have in Norway. So by looking at a few hundred names, I can give this diagnosis.
Wow! So when people contact you from America or even England, right, to research their family history, you look at the names, and then do you go back and forth to the libraries or, and help them go how do you work in a specific region? I mean, will you go and find where their childhood or their grandparents' childhood home was, or what's the process like?
I would use the digital archive, which is the main site for Norway, and will be more and more important because all institutions like museums and archives, they will put up their materials there. And the church books in Norway, they have more information than I think most church books in other countries, because it's not only birth and baptism, but it's vaccination, confirmation, marriage. It's going to and from, and it's of course death. So that's a very important source. But we have also another thing called bygdebøker, which could be translated into English as farm books. So in a municipality with 3,000 or 5,000 people, everything is smaller in Norway than in the U.S. They would have a bygdebok with a series of 2 or 6 books, and those books they go far back. So, for example, for my grandfather, it goes back to the 1600s. So I can just look into the book and find. But all genealogists know that we should have a primary source. So, but it's a good starting point to find out where to look.
Did Norway do the census, like the census records like we have in America? And I think Germany did it too, but did Norway do the census?
Yeah, so it's very, very much like the British census, the years. The first one, which was for all of Norway, was in 1801. Earlier on, only the men were counted.
You know, isn't that typical? Every country has the same problem.
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
That is. Holly, I know we talked about census, but that happened here too, right? Women not being counted as much as men?
They were counted. They just weren't listed. No names. Only the head of household, but it would say how many women were within that household.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And is census something that you work with in the archives as well, Melissa?
Actually, we don't work with a lot of census here in the archives because mainly now you can get them online. We're not lucky enough to have like a patron computer where they can do that. Although on my computer, if we're looking for something in the census, I will pull up, of course, Ancestry, Family Search, something. We also have what's called the Tennessee Electronic Library. And these are records that are open to Tennessee residents. And what that is that it gives us access to heritage. It gives us access to some ancestry records through a cooperation through Ancestry and the state of Tennessee. So I'm able to help my patrons that way. But what we usually do here are we work with regular original records, such as manuscript collections, vertical files, photographs, loose papers, things like that, things that normally are not online or microfilmed.
Okay, very interesting. Holly, I wanted to touch back on the festival, the expo, and everyone again. This goes August 5th through 10th, so it's 6 days of full-on classes and activities and great information. And you can go to familyhistoryexpos.com to register. I wanted to just touch base on some of your other presenters. You've got Melissa, you've got Leif, who will be presenting. But Ruby Coleman, she's been on our show with you before. She'll be on there.
She's got some good. She's got some good classes that she's going to be sharing with us using newspapers, and newspapers cover a lot of the ethnic groups that come to America. They republish articles that were printed in Norway or England or wherever, and so she talks about that. She's talking about being naturalized or remaining an alien. And then records of the institutionalized, what happens to people that were put into asylums or just, and the reasons why it's changed compared to today. We just think as everybody's a criminal or insane or some kind of a mental dangerous person, but she'll go into some of the reasons for blindness and deafness and things that you wouldn't even realize that people would be institutionalized for. And that happened in other places besides the U.S. We've also got Judy White is going to be speaking, and she's an internationally known speaker who teaches. She's going to talk about Scottish records and Irish records. We've got Daniel Horowitz from Israel, who's going to be talking about Jewish research, which will be really good. We've got James Tanner talking about digital collections for New York, and we decided to include New York this time because the bulk of people that come to this country come through New York, and they're there for a time before they disperse throughout the country, and so we felt like that would be really helpful. We've got Arlene. We've got
Arlene Eccles.
Yeah, Arlene's going to be talking about colonial Virginia, and that's in a time frame when people are coming from all over the world to the Americas, and so that colonial time frame, and that's a hard time for people to do research. And she's very knowledgeable, so she'll be talking about that. We have several of your guests that will be that you've sponsored some tracks, Big Blend Radio, we're going to be talking about different areas of the world. There's some real good broadcasts that have been pre-recorded that people will be able to listen to those.
Like Queen Anne, that is really fascinating. Queen Anne, the last Stuart monarch, and you've got cooking with Ruth Milstein, Judaic cooking, and I was going through the list. You've got Myanmar, it's really quite fascinating. Cape Town, South Africa. So, you've got some really diverse destinations that you're going to be talking about. Pat Richley Erickson, what is Pat going to be talking about?
You know, she's also known as Dear Myrtle, and she's going to,
right,
on Monday and Wednesday, these are panel discussions that bring on several professional genealogists from different places in the world, from England, from Australia. Leave is part of the panel. I am part of the panel, and we just talk about whatever we want. Mm-hmm. And it's usually it'll be a kind of spur of the moment thing, and whatever we've heard about that week, we just talk about the news, whatever's new in family history, and there's always something exciting to learn about. And then she's going to talk about some hidden gems on Family Search. There's a lot of really good stuff there that people just don't know about. Another speaker we have is Diane Richard, and she's going to be talking about seafaring ancestors, early 19th century. So that's going to be quite a fascinating, and where the records are. It's, you know, the mariners, it's kind of different.
This is exciting.
To figure those out. So.
Yeah, this is going to be such a good, resource. And I know you want to tell everybody the cost of it, because, you know, if you want everything and you want all the materials, right, isn't that $69 for the whole thing?
$69, and then the price goes up to $99 just before it starts. Right now, if you register, you can get in at the $69 level. The presentations that are broadcast live will be, anybody and everybody can just come and watch them at no cost. You can participate. The links will be put in them. Those that are pre-recorded, you have to have a paid registration in order to watch those. And also with a paid registration, you get access to go and listen to them over and over, again and again. You have access to download the handouts, and some of the handouts are significant, you know, anywhere from 4 to 40 pages for one class.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it's well worth the money, and then have access to the information. Now with Big Blend radio classes, the articles are online. So when people click through and listen to those, the pictures and articles are just available online. It's not a video though. It's a voice radio broadcast. So.
Yeah. So this is exciting. Everyone, again, August 5th through 10th, and go to FamilyHistoryExpos.com to learn more about that. And I wanted to play the time machine game with you all, because we haven't done that for a while, and it's time to do that. I know we like to play time machine. So what it is, it's about, you get to go in a time machine, and you can go forward or backwards or wherever you want to go. But we want to know, you get in the time machine and you tell it where you want to land, what time frame it is, what era, and who do you want to meet? Why do you want to go to that place? Is there someone specific, or do you need to go get some research for something that you're working on now? So, Holly, you've done this before, so why don't we start with you? I'm going to get you in the time machine, and sit tight here. Are you ready? It's going. It's going to get ready. All right, so where are you landing?
2050. 2050. I want to see what technology is doing for us in 2050. There's no one specific that I want to meet. I just want to go there and learn. I love technology. I love using it. And you'll see on our International Expo, each classroom is a different technology. So we're showing and teaching you how to actually access your family history using different types of technology. And so I want to see what's coming.
But where are you going to land to do this? Or are you going to land, are you going to go home and check out your house and see how your house is doing?
Well, I want to go to a library. I'm hoping there's still viable places to go and get information, a library.
There's nothing like a library, Amanda.
Let's just say the Library of Congress. It's the largest library here in the U.S. I'd like to go there and see what's happening.
Okay, that's good. That's a good one. Okay, so let's go to you, Melissa. where are you landing in what time frame? Wait, let me get the time machine ready. We got to play the time machine. We like our little time machine. Okay, you've landed where?
I have landed off the coast of France in the Jersey Isles, 1635. That's when my 8th great-grandfather was born. I just recently got a hold of his christening record, so I would like to go there and meet my family.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now let's go to Norway and leave. We're putting you in the time machine. Okay, you've landed. What country have you landed in, and where? When?
I'd like to go to some place in Norway, in Trøndelag, where my great-grandfather lived, about 1890. And he was a local historian, and he collected a lot of stories. And I would like to hear him tell me stories about the people living 50 or 100 years before, because he knew those stories.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
like
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Nancy, you're getting in the machine.
Oh, boy.
Here it is. Yes. Where are you getting out?
I want to get off on the Isle of Man.
Oh, you took mine.
Ha. Well, since we're related, there's a lot of different stories about my family, and most of them I don't know if they're true or not. And I think that my grandfather, he was supposed to be one of 16 kids, and that's a lot of kids in one family. But we're supposed to have witches and all sorts of strange characters in our family on that side, and I'd just like to go back and find out why those stories got started. I mean, there's got to be something to them. So I want to go find the witches and warlocks.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
It's odd.
I did our family history until the 1400s. I got into like 1490 or something on my Nana's side, on the Holroyd family. And
because she was in the Museum of the Occult in San Francisco, and that was pretty crazy.
You always tell people that, and that now everybody's going to think we're weird. Well, we are.
Well, it's a really odd thing,
I know.
And then the next time I was in San Francisco and I saw that, and then the next time I went, it was the whole museum was closed. So I lost that opportunity to find out more about that exhibit. But it was pretty crazy.
Liv, do you think Holroyd is a British name, or do you think it has any Norwegian influence in it, the last name Holroyd?
I can't think of any variation of it being Norwegian, no.
Okay, so that's going to be, British. I'm going to get in the machine and let's see. Okay, so I am going to get out in South Africa, and I'm going to go hang out with Shaka Zulu. And I want to meet his mother because there's a very mystical story, and it does involve witches. And I want to go there.
You see?
And I want to know about, their family and how they did what they did, and look up the people involved in the battles and what happened to them, because I've kind of forgotten some of my history. So I'm getting out to hang out with Shaka Zulu, but I don't want to get killed. I don't want to get in the war.
You have fun with that.
War. No, I don't. I don't want to do that. But I just want to, connect with them and see, because it's just very interesting about the women and how they were advisors in the wars and in the different tribes settings. So I'd like to get into that and find out more. But ladies, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. We've learned so much, as always, on these shows. Everyone, again, you can keep up with Liv Christensen. Go to genealogicalresearchnorway.blog. And when you go on there, there's the 2 YouTube videos, right? And that's with your Myrtle friend. Myrt. And so that's with Dear Myrtle. You did a couple of videos on there, or webinars that people can connect to, right? And that's a good start.
And they're for free.
Yes. So yeah, it's free, and you get a nice start, and people can contact you through your website if they need help tracing their family in Norway.
Yes, of course they can.
Awesome. And Melissa is over in Houston County, and you can go, Melissa Barker. You can go visit her at the archives, and also keep up with their website, HoustonCountyArchives.yolasite.com. Is that right, Melissa?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and then you do a blog too, don't you?
I do. It's called The Genealogist in the Archives.
Okay, so everybody look her up there, and she's on Twitter as well. And everybody, again, of course, go to FamilyHistoryExpos.com. Also, if you go to BlendRadioAndTV.com or you go to NationalParkTraveling.com, you'll see Holly in our expert department on NationalParkTraveling.com. Her articles and interviews cover route travel, which is we've definitely done a little bit of that today. And BlendRadioAndTV.com, she shares a lot of tips on researching your family history, whether we've done all kinds of things, haven't we, Holly? From cemeteries to census to marriage records and art, it's all in there. So keep up with her there. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Big Blend Radio airs Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. You can go to bigblendradio.com for the list of upcoming shows. You can listen live or anytime later in the archives, and just go to bigblendradio.com again. Our next show is July 21st. And we're focusing on historic Greeley, Colorado. We're talking about monsters,
Cool.
It happens, model trains, model railroads, and the history of Greeley and how Greeley was settled. And we talked about you, Holly, on the show. You and Glenn are in that segment, just so you know, because we found
cool.
all the family history of how people migrated, went from New York back east, and they tried to form their own utopian society in Greeley. It's a really fascinating story. And then there was a massacre, too. There's massacres and all kinds of stuff. So it's a really fascinating story. So everyone, again, that's July 21st. But we're going to close with music. We're talking about family history, and it always shows how we're very connected individuals, and so we're not just on our own, right? So here's a song. It's called Universal Love. It's from our friend Kwame Binea and his band, The Shakedown. And Kwame, he knows about family history. He's from Ghana, and he also lived in West London. He now lives in New Jersey. He's done a lot of travel, and his family's growing. So here it is, Universal Love. You can keep up with Kwame Binea at shakedown.com. Thanks for joining us, ladies.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beyond the family boundary, go beyond the tribal boundary, and beyond social boundary, yes, beyond national boundary. within your tribal boundaries, within your